All right. So current version of the app, right? We are basically, yes, so user can be able to enter, select, enter boots, right, and vote for whoever they have, right? Like this person, for example. Like you click on yes, you can know like it will cancel, right? But if you click on yes, nothing is happening. That's what we are going to focus on today. So here, where are we? We need to go to the dialog, right? So we need to go to the vote screen. So on the vote screen, yeah, so in my pages, in my vote screen, inside the vote screen, this is where you have the candidate card that we prepared, right? Okay, the candidate card. Inside the candidate card, we need to enter. This is the candidate card, right? No, no, no. Yeah, inside the candidate card. When you click on the candidate card, which button? So we need to look for that button that we will click, right? So see where we are. So we are on candidate card right now. So we need to look for this vote button. So the vote button on the candidate card is somewhere down here. Yeah, this is it. This is the vote button. And this is the on press, right? Inside the on press, show button, right? Okay, first we need to do something now. If the person click on vote, right? If the person click on votes, we need to be able to confirm. If the person confirms vote, what should happen? We need to be able to show a different screen here, a different screen here. So let's go to the confirm dialog content, right? So this is, we click on this, you have this dialog, and we are going to this content because we are looking for this yes vote. So this is a confirm vote dialog content, and inside it we are looking for this yes vote button, right? So when you go there, you see how we organize the thing so that when we are looking for something, we know where to go to, and then if you want to change just a portion of the app, right, we just go there. So this is the yes button, and in the yes button we said okay, so on press, you wonder if you press on it, nothing is going to happen. So you can say, okay, if you press on it, you can do contest dot pop as well, right? Then it will come up to, it will come out to. So let's click on R. So yep, so if I click on, right now I click on yes votes, that one to the dialog to will go. But what we want to do is that when you click on the yes vote, what happens is that we don't want these votes to appear again, right? The button should go away, right? The button should go away when we know that the user has clicked on yes, because when you vote once, you don't need to vote again. So that's what we need to also have in mind. So we need to be able to tell, like, be able to update something, right? So that we know that the user has voted, right? So how do we know that the user has voted or not? That's something we should keep in mind, right? So what are we going to update inside here? We need to update a particular variable, right? A particular variable that will indicate that the person has voted, right? That particular variable, where will it be, right? It should be on this page. It should be on this screen. So it should be on the vote screen. So let's go to the vote screen. All right. So when you click a button here, the entire that dialog will go, right? It needs not to be in the dialog, because when you click on yes, the things will update and the dialog will disappear. So, and then the variable that will be updating on this screen will be updating, like this screen will be looking, the vote screen will be listening to that variable to check, okay, if the variable is there and then the person has voted, then all we need to do is that we need to remove the vote button from every candidate button, every candidate card. Okay, so now we need to leave the confirm dialog box, right? We have located where the yes button is now. Let's go and keep a variable on the vote screen. So I'm going to the vote screen, and we are going to on top of it, right, on top of the vote screen, on top of the build, right, where we are keeping variables, we are keeping the variables here. So this is the original list of candidates, right? So now just on top of it, I want to take variable to check if user has voted already, right? So let's call that variable it's going to be true or false something. So voted equals to false, right? So let's say voted is equal to false. So meaning that if the person has not voted, what should happen? Like, and if the person voted, what should not happen? So this on the major screen. So what we need to do is that we need to say, okay, we need to pass it to the candidate card, because the candidate card needs to respond accordingly. So a candidate card, we are going to say that, okay, it's going to take the name, right? The candidate card is currently taking the name and the image, right? That's what it's showing. But then we need to actually make sure that this vote card disappears based on if the person has voted or not. So we need to add another variable, another argument to the candidate card called can vote, right? So if you can vote, right? Let's say voted, right? Let's say has voted. That will be the name. So you pass the voted that we have on top here. So right. So we are adding a new argument to the candidate card, right? And that candidate card is going to listen to the variable voted, right? The variable is here on this vote screen right now. We are saying that, okay, right now it is false, right? It is false. So we are going to pass it to a candidate card and say, so that they all listen to that person, okay, voted, right? So let's enter. So has voted is currently not actually defined inside the candidate card. So let's go inside the candidate card and say, okay, we add another variable, final go, called has voted, right? And we need to pass it as one of the arguments here. This is required, this is also required. And then this guy needs to go to the next line, put a comma before, so required this dot has voted. So we need to pass has voted now. Okay, you see the vote screen error is gone, right? So now vote screen is not showing any error again. Now, so this has voted. If the person voted, what we need to do that we don't need to show that screen. Where are we? We don't need to show that screen. Ternary operations will be the one to help us. So what are ternary operations? So ternary operation happens like this. Let me put it in a comment, right? So it's going to be condition, right? And then question mark followed by question mark. What when true, you do something here, right? When true, you put something that will happen when the thing is true, and then colon when false. This is how ternary operation works. So you put the condition here. If that condition is true, then this particular first statement you put before the colon will okay. But if it is false, whatever comes after the colon will be the one to run. That's how you need to keep the ternary. We did this when we were doing the basic operation, but this is how ternary operation works, right? You put the condition here. If that condition is true, then it's going to run the first statement before the colon, and then if it is false, it's going to run something after the colon. So what we have now is the statement, right? Okay, so now we are going to apply that on the vote button. Okay, so just on top of the vote button, we are going to say has voted, right? If the person has voted, I'm going to put question mark. Okay, so if the person has voted, you remember how we said this thing should run? So let me put it on top here. Ternary operation condition question mark when true, what will run when true, and then when false, right? So what should run when this is true? When has voted, right? So has voted is either true or false, right? We have passed it, right? Because it's the one that it's a bool. So if this is the condition, this condition can either be true or false, right? If has voted is true, right? What will happen is that the first thing after the question mark, what are we putting there? We are putting the what we are going to put is, if the person has voted, what we are going to put there first before the semicolon. Let me put this thing here, right? We are going to use size box dot shrink. Remember, so we are going to say that we are saying that if the person has voted, right, shrink this particular size box, right? Bring the size board or shrink. Remember size board or shrink when we were learning in the basics? That's why it was very, I took time to actually make videos on the basis, right? If you skip it, I think that's your problem. I actually explained size boards and container and things, right? Size board or shrink is telling you that, okay, when the person has voted, please make sure that this particular button doesn't come. So it become a size, you bring a size board shrink, right, to occupy that space, right? The shrink will make sure nothing happens there. But so if the person has voted, then you say you bring this shrink, maybe meaning the button should not be there. You rather run this thing when it's true. But when it is false, run the elevator button. That's what will happen. Right. Let me put a space where you can see clearly what I mean. So it will match. So this is the condition has voted, the question mark. If the has voted is true, if the person has voted, right, which will make it true, right? Then we are going to just put as how do you call it? Shrink, right? Meaning the button will not be there. But if it is false, if the person has not voted, then the elevator button will come up. So right now, let's run this and see. So what will come? So it will be there. Nothing will be there because our has voted on the whole screen is what? Has voted is taking voted, and voted, the value for voted is, I'm on the whole screen right now. The value for voted is what? False, right? Let's change it to true. Let's say voted is true. Let me hot restart. It's true. Let me see. Okay, it's gone, right? The thing didn't appear, so I have to go back in this thing so that maybe I should have done hot reload altogether. Then to show. So the button is gone. But we are going to make it everything more responsive, right? As we go forward. But right now, that's how it works, right? If the voted is true, if it is true, what happened is that the person has voted. So this is what you will see. The person has voted, so no button there to vote. But if you change it to false, right, meaning the person has not voted is equal to false, well, then each of the buttons will be able to respond accordingly. Let me do hot restart. So you see there's vote button there because right now the person has not voted. So because voted is false. But if voted is true, right, let me do hot restart. No, this is hot reload. I'm doing hot restart, right? So the person has not voted. What will happen is that we need to see only the image and the name, but nothing here. So the size box shrink is here, but you will not see, the button will not be there. Basically, that's what we are able to achieve so far, right? Based on the state. So we are using this single value to control the state when the person has voted or has not voted. So let's put it back to, let's maintain it as true. So when the person's vote, what we want to also see is that we want to be able to see the progress bar, like the percentage that this person, Sarah Mensah, is so far, the percentage that David Osei is so far, that Jessica to the percentage that they are so far. So that will lead us back to, where do we see? We need to go and edit the card, right? So let's go to the card, and then we are going to add that. We are going to use the power of ternary operation. You need to really pay close attention to it. You've done that in the basics, but then, so okay, if you can catch up here directly without going there to those videos, it's fine. So what we are saying, we are showing the vote button, right? So has voted is true, and then whatever. Now size box that. So what we want to also show is that, okay, if so you have this single row, right? We have the container for the entire card, right? That is having this thing at the top, right? And then the single row is everything here from the image to this. It's a single row currently, right? Inside the container. But I want to have this image name at the top and then a progress bar at the bottom, right? So it's like this image and name are going to be one row, and below it I want to have another row. So if you want to stack two rows together, you need to, like one on top of the other, you need to put those two rows inside a column like a table. You have to have in mind, right? A column has two. So I'm going to wrap this row, which is the first one, the image, and this is the image and then the name row, right? So image and name row. Below the two of them, I want to put a progress bar below them. So I'm going to do that first. Because I want to put one row on top of the other, I need to wrap the row inside a column. Right, right, let's wrap it column. Yeah, so we are putting inside a column, and the children, this is top row for image and the name. Right, that's the top row. Right, so let me go back, go down, 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 down. We are going to the end of the row. Yeah, this one. So now this is going to be the bottom row of the card for um, progress bar and percentage. So what we are going to show is that we are going to see a progress bar so far, and then the percentage that the person has earned. Okay, so right now, what we are going to put there will be another row, right? Why is it going to be a row? Because inside the row, I want to put two things inside, right? So it's cascading, like as if you are writing down, but then you have to give me, you are writing in a row. So it's going to, on the UI, it's going to be horizontal from left to right. So we are going to keep the children inside that row. The first child will be a progress bar, and the one that follow is a percentage value. That's what we are going to keep. So that person's vote, what's their percentage in total so far? So when someone click on vote, something like that. So like test, right? Let me put 35% here. 35% here, right? For that. And then progress bar is linear. So linear progress indicator. That's what we need to call progress linear indicator, a comma after that. Then let's open it and give it a value. And the value of 0.35 for the 35%, right? But this one will give us an error. You need to make sure that you give it a size. So for that reason, we are going to put it inside size box, inside expanded, right? Inside expanded. That's what we need to do. Let's run it and see. Okay, right now they are there. Let me put the test. Let's make it white for us to be able to see the change there. Style it, test style, right? For the test style of this, let's do the colors dot white, font weight of dot bold. Yeah, I'm trying to make it bold. Yeah, it's bold now. Let me increase the font size. Font size of let's say 20. Let me see how it comes out. All right. This is kind of huge, but then the progress bar is too small. So what we need to go to the progress bar here, right? So let's go into we are going to what was that value? Let's try to so you need to increase it. So you have to put it inside size box. Right? So let's wrap it inside size box, the progress bar directly inside the size box, and give it a height inside the size box. Let's give it a height of, let me put 10. I don't know how it will look like, but let's see 10. Okay. This one is quite clear. Progress bar. Let's give the progress bar a colors dot green. For me, maybe green. Yeah, it's green now, for us to see the percentage for the person against the background instead of using the default color. And now I'm going to set the border radius, right? Border radius dot circular. I'm going to put like 12. I usually like 12. I don't know why. 24. So the border radius is not like sharp again, but it's kind of curved, right? The edge, even the one in the inside, the ink inside is also like curved as well. Yeah, this is quite good, but it's too close to the 35, right? 35 is too close to that. Let me put a space. So constant sized box between a space is going to be a width because it's a row of, let's say, 10. Let's see how 10 comes out. Okay, okay. Or should I increase it to 15? Let's do 15 and see. All right. I think this is fine. But everyone is having the same value for now. Right? Everyone is having the same value for now. But we want to show this particular row. We want to show this particular row if only if the person has voted, right? We don't want to show it when you are now going to vote. So let's show it only when you have voted. Because right now, let's go back to the vote screen, right? And then change this one to the person has not voted. Let's change this one to where are you? Voted to false. False. So let's do hot to restart. So now when I click on it, you see the button shows, right? The image and everything shows. The button is here, but you see 35%, and you can see that the 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 vote is there, so we are seeing everyone's vote before. That one might influence people's system, so we want the person to vote before they can see the percentage so far, right? So we don't want that thing to influence who is leading so far or something. We want them to choose before we show them the progress for everybody. All right, so what we need to do is that we need to go to our vote card, right? That's where the problem is, on the vote, on the candidate card, sorry, the candidate card. And then before we can show this progress row and things, we are going to say if like has voted, right? If user has voted, but we are going to say if user has not voted. So that's the not, right? The exclamation mark before has voted. Here you don't bring curly bracket and t because we are in a widget. We are inside a widget, not inside the unpressed function. You are not inside a function to use the if you are using the if outside of it. So I show you the ternary operation one, and this one I'm showing you if it's just widget, right? Just put the if condition on top of that widget, right? Directly on top of it, and that widget will follow that if statement. So if has voted will actually, if the person has not voted, because of this exclamation mark we use at the beginning, this one, right? Because of that exclamation mark, we are saying that if the person has not voted, right? We'll do this in the basic stuff. So if the person has not voted, right? No, yeah, if the person has voted, sorry, if the person has voted already before we show it, but if the person hasn't voted, we are not showing this, right? If the person has voted, so if has voted, yeah, that's the meaning. That's the meaning now. So it's clear. So if the person has voted, then we show this bar. But if they haven't voted, it will not do. So that's we only care about one. If the person has voted before we show it, that's all. We don't care whatever happens because there are only two alternatives. Now we come back to this. You can see now because has voted is false, right? Meaning the person has not voted. Then this particular bottom bar is not showing. But if the person votes, let's go back to vote screen. You can see it is false, right? It is false. So I'm going to true. Now the person has voted. So now the person has voted. So what will happen? I'm going to do hot restart, and then we'll come back in again. Then we'll go inside. You see the button is not there. You just come and see the progress so far. You can't vote anymore. You can see the progress bar so far, right? Now we are doing this to enforce and things, but we want everybody to have their individual percentages, not this total thing. So how do we do that? We need to go to let's say int total vote. Total vote is equal to 10. right? Total vote is equal to, no, let's say 50. Yeah, total vote is equal to 50. Now let's give this first person and let's add another section called count. Right? Count is going to be like the number of votes. So the count for the first person randomly, let me say 23. I should make sure here they are all up to this thing. So let me do 20. It will be 30, right? Let me give this person 25. Right? Let me give, oh, that's count. Let's give this person 25, or let's say 24, right? So that it will be left with 6 for the last person. So that it will be, that it should be count. We will automate everything to come from the back end. But right now we are just simulating, so it's left with 6, right? This and this will be 30 and 50. The total vote over here is 50. So far, the total number of votes so far is 50. This person got 20, this person got 24, and the person got 6. Right. Okay. So now it means that we need to pass this count to the, we need to pass the count to the candidate card, right? Because it's now raw card. The only thing we are passing right now are just these three. We are passing this, and that, right? So we need to pass another variable. So count, right? So we are going to take candidate, right? For that candidate, we are going to take the count. That's what happens. So by this candidate, we have to go to the candidate card because it's not defined yet. That's why it's shouting. We need to go inside and say, okay, we need to add final int count, right? So let's make it required as well. Required is dot count. All right. So we have count now. How do we now transfer it inside? Let's go inside. Let's go inside the progress bar so far, and then instead of having this thing over here, we said the value is going to be what is the value? Is going to be a division. We are going to do a division, right? The count that we will have divided by 50, because we know the total. We are hard coding it inside because right now we know the total number of 50. We are just trying to simulate first, and then here, over here, we need to actually do the inside here. We need to show, do the calculation inside as well, right? Multiply by 100 percentage. So I need to do count divided by 50, right? But when you are done, you need to multiply it by 100. And all of them are inside the bracket. The operations is inside the curly bracket after the dollar sign, right? It's actually inside the curly bracket, the dollar sign, because everything outside the dollar sign curly bracket is going to be a normal string because we are inside a test, right? So that's what show. We are going to take the person's count, that candidate count that we give them, divided by the total number of votes times 100, so that they will all have their own percentage level. But there will be a little problem. Let's run this and see. Okay, we all have a problem now. Let's hot restart. Now is not a subtype. Let me click on this. Yeah, so these guys have 40%, 48%, and 12%, right? 40%, 48%, and 12%. Now basically, yeah, that's what happens now, right? So we are passing that value here every time, and then we are updating. So the 40%, 48.0, 12.0, and all the blah blah blah, they are all showing inside here. 40.0. Okay, I think this is great. This is great. Yep. All right, what's the next thing to do? We now need to make sure that the button plays. So let's go back to the top here. Right, so you see voted. The voted is the one showing us what shows and what does not show. So let's say voted is now false. voted is now false. Let me do voted is now false. Let me do hot restart. Voted is now false. Let me go back inside, and then it will show us this screen. Now when we vote, when you click on yes, we want to see the update. The thing will change from that to that.